Hi, this is Jay for SimplyMaya and welcome to a brand new tutorial. This tutorial we're going to be covering UV mapping. As we all know, UV mapping can be a bit of a tedious task to do after we've created a model because it's that stage where you're sort of in between modeling and texturing, and UV mapping can be very boring, and setting up projections and stuff like that can be a bit tedious and sometimes can be frustrating. So the idea of this tutorial is to run through each of these objects to give you an idea of what you can do to eliminate problems and how to sort of lay out those UV maps in the 0 to 1 space. So I've chosen sort of two fairly simple objects, and I've chosen two fairly complex objects to do, and using only the Maya tools that are available, we're going to create UV maps for these. So it should give you an idea of how to approach difficult objects, and with curves and corners and stuff like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off with the sphere, and we're just going to hide everything else. So here we go. So if we just jump over to my layouts and go to my JUV, so this is the standard UV layout you can see here for a sphere. So let's just hit 5 on the keyboard, and I've already got a checker map applied to the sphere itself. If I just go back to the Lambert shader, what I'm going to do is just decrease the repeats on the UV coordinates. So just take this down to 2. Okay, so you can see those a bit more clearly. So there you go. You can see, the UVs are pretty good, but when we get to this top bit here on the sphere, it's not so great. It's all a bit chewed and strange. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and approach it from a different point instead of this. So we're going to probably just use really cylindrical mapping and probably planar mapping as well. So without further ado, let's get on with that. So what I'm going to do first is this icon up here is going to display the image on and off as it says there, as I've toggled over it. So we're going to turn off the checker map in the UV editor. Okay, so we can just clearly see our flattened mesh as it stands in its default sort of look. Right, so let's just give ourselves a little bit more room. I'm going to make sure I'm in polygon mode, okay, and we're going to go over here and we're going to go to the Create UVs menu, and what I'm going to do is go planar mapping, okay, and I'm going to open up the menu, okay, and as you can see we've got project from X, Y or Z. What I'd like to do is actually project on the Y. Now what this is going to do is going to get the projection, or the planar projection manipulator, and it's going to project our UVs straight through in the Y axis. Okay, so I'm just going to hit apply, and there we go. Okay, so you can see the projection manipulator, and what that's done is projected our UV straight through the center, or through the top of our sphere. So I'm just going to close this off. Okay, and it's also applied our checker map, or its standard projection, which you can see up here. If we go create UV, and which is the assign shader to each projection when it's done it automatically, so obviously a slight bug there, but it's assigned this shader anyway. So we're going to deselect that, okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to F8, and I'm just going to assign our existing material of Lambert 2. So you can see where our projection's gone straight through the center of this sphere, we've got quite a lot of stretching going on, okay, through the center here. And what we want to do now is eliminate that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to edge mode, and I think what we'll do, we choose the edges from there, okay, and also we'll choose the edges from there, whoops, just shift select those, okay, whoops, no, don't those ones, I can grab these, okay, just deselect that. So 1, 2, 3, okay, and there we go. So got the correct ones there. Okay, and what we're going to do, we're going to go to polygons in our UV texture editor. We're going to go polygon menu, and we're going to go cut UV edges. Okay, and what we can do now is if we go to this little icon here, this will display our border edges to show where our UVs have been cut. Okay, and then we can right click UV and just select the UV in the center, and then with the control key down and then with the right mouse button hit to shell, and what that'll do, that'll pick the UVs in the area that we've cut only and selected. And you can see here on our sphere on the right in the perspective view we've done exactly that. And what you can do using the move tool, hit W on the keyboard, or you can just pick it from the toolbox, is just move those aside. Okay, and then what we're going to do is separate that. So I'm just going to select the UV in the perspective view, go to shell, and that would have just selected the lower one, and we'll just move that aside as well. So what we have are two flattened, or pretty much flattened, top and bottom of our sphere. Now the other thing we need to do is, because we projected from one direction only, we need to just go and have a quick look at our sphere, and you can see the letters are backwards, and so this means that the UV is backwards. And a good way to check for this is if you go up to here in our UV editor, and you can toggle on and off the shaded UV display as it says there as I highlight over it. So if we just click that, you can see now in the UV editor we've got this blue UV shell, and we've got a red one, and we've got a purple one. Excuse me. Now what we have is this red one means it's backwards, the blue one means it's absolutely fine, and the purple one means there's overlapping going on. So the first thing we want to do is just highlight over this one, okay, and we can go up to these two icons we have here, okay, and this will flip the UVs in whatever direction we want. Okay, so I'm just going to do it in the V direction, okay, like so, and that will do me for now. So those two shells are absolutely spot on. Now the problem one is this one. So what we want to do is we're going to unwrap this one now and give it some nice UV coordinates. So I'm going to right click over that and select face, and if we look in our perspective view again, we can see now that all the faces are selected. Okay, and then if we go to create UVs, okay, we're going to go to cylindrical mapping, okay, and again it's assigned our shader for us, and if we look in the UV editor, it's already made a nice projection cylindrically, and all we're going to do is grab the handles on the tool itself, on the projection tool, and we're just going to close that up. So all our UVs fit inside the 0 to 1 space. Excuse me. Okay, and then what we want to do then is just deselect, grab the faces again in there, and right click, assign our Lambert 2 shader that I've already set up. Now as you can see, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was. And what this means is these UVs aren't quite right, they're still a little bit stretched. So if we go UV and highlight over there, and just selecting the scale tool from the toolbox, if we just squeeze that, you can then see that these things start to go square, which is exactly what we want. We want the UVs to be exactly square as possible as we can. With every object, things are going to be a little bit different. You're not going to get them exactly perfect, but if the more perfect you can get the UVs to be, then the better your texturing is going to be, and you're not going to have any stretching and dodgy textures on your models. So the closer you can get them to the UVs being square, then that's the better for you. So that's good for me there. So as you can see here, we've got our UVs are a different size. So what we can do is scale these guys down, okay, to about there. So now what you can see, we've got a slight problem, we've got this arching going on. Okay, so what we need to do is select one of the shells. Okay, now I'm just going to pop these into a position where I'm going to finish off the sphere UVs for this exercise. Okay, so this is where I'm going to sort of have them ending up. Okay, so if we just grab the UVs on the top shell and we go to polygon and we go to unfold, okay, so let's just have a look at these settings just in here. Okay, so let's go edit, reset settings, okay, and we're just going to close that off and just going to go polygon and just hit unfold. Okay, so as you can see there, they're better already. but still need a little bit of a tweak. So you can grab the Smooth UV tool there, this one here, and you can pop that into a position wherever you like. And usually I just use unfold, okay, because by using relax you get some strangeness going on, stuff like that. So try and be a little bit sort of frugal when you use that one. And again, I'm just going to use unfold, okay. So as you can see, it's starting to come to life, and UVs are looking a lot squarer. So what I'm going to do is just start to scale this one up again, okay, and the arcing, or the arch, is a lot better than what it was, okay. So again, just go round as well on some of these, and just go unfold. Just check those, okay. Sometimes it might not work, which means it's as far as it can go, okay. And there we go. So that's as good as done. And what we're going to do is the same for the bottom one. Go polygons and just hit unfold, and we should be able to see that these UVs on the bottom are pretty good as well. So let's just scale that up to the sort of the right size, okay. And there we go. So that's basically how I would sort of do a sphere for any model if I had one there. But again, usually I don't think a lot of people would be using a standard sphere, because obviously it would all get edited and stuff like that and become a different model shape. So yeah, it's just an idea of how to UV that up nice and tidily. And to finish this off, what I do like to do is if we just select edges, okay, and I usually like to choose the sort of the center edge that's in conjunction with the edge of the top of the sphere or the bottom of the sphere, and as you can see it's highlighted as I've highlighted that one, as I've selected that, and go polygons, move, and so UV edges. As you can see, that's pulled that in a bit, so that means that there's a little bit stretching, or the scale is slightly out. So what we can do is just rotate that round, okay, bring that up, okay, and just scale that until we're happy with that, okay. And then we'll go polygon, move, and so UV, okay. And we'll do the same with this one as well. So we'll select that, we'll find out which one we need, which is that one there. Okay. And there we go. Select the edge, move, and so. There we go, that's done. And then all that leaves us to do is to get those UVs inside the 0 to 1 space. And there we go. So UVs on that are all done. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to grab this guy and we're just going to move him up out of the way for the sake of the exercise. Alright. Okay, so let's do on to the next one. We're going to go show last hidden. Okay, so what we've got next is our hand. Okay, now what I've done, I've deliberately put automatic mapping on the hand before the tutorial, just so you can see the mess that automatic mapping for UVs does actually make, and really it's not ideal in any purpose when you come to do this. Even if you're being lazy, you know, and you just want a quick UV on your objects, it really doesn't hold any advantage doing this. If anything, it's going to make life quite difficult for you. So I really suggest, you know, not to use automatic mapping unless you are going to sit there and sew every single UV back up, which can be a time-consuming process and a real pain. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this hand, and I'm going to show you a quick way to do this. Not always the easiest of objects to do. Let's just highlight this in the whole window, because we've got the tips of the fingers and stuff like that, and they're always a bit awkward to do as well. But we'll try and eliminate a few of the problems of the process of this pretty awkward looking object, and it will be the same sort of thing for the face as well. Okay, so let's get on with that. So what we're going to do, we're going to hide everything else. Okay, so that's all done, and then what we want to do, okay, is let's just have a quick look. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this is, again, going to use our trusty friend, the planar mapping projection tool, and I'm going to do this on Y, okay, and hit that right down like that, and we'll close that off. And what we're going to do is just manipulate this a little bit. So this little hammer, oops, let's just go back, this little hammer on the end here, this red hammer, or gavel, or sort of like a gavel, if you just click on that, you'll get the manipulator tool come up, and you know, you can rotate the UVs around. It's good to get sort of a flat sort of projection just going on to get you started. You know, obviously there's still going to be issues yet while we're in this mode, and as you can see here, we've got overlapping UVs and, you know, all sorts of stuff going on, so got plenty to look at here on this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go back to object mode, and we're going to assign our Lambert 2 again. So as you can see, UVs, you know, they're pretty square, but they're not perfect, as you can see here, so we need to go in and sort that out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into shaded mode only, and I'm going to now go around and select these edges. In fact, we'll start from here, okay. Whoops, if I can get hold of those. On that one. We'll have that one and that one, okay. And we'll do the same with the thumb as well for now. Okay, like so. And then what we'll do there is, if we'll go back to our UV editor, and what we're going to do, we're going to go cut UVs, and then this time, instead of going down here into the menu, let's use the little icon, which is this one here with a pair of scissors. So that's all done, let's cut those, and what we can do is display the border edges so we can see where we've cut. And as you can see, let's just turn that shader off for a minute, you can see the thickness of those borders for those UV edges where they've been cut. Okay, so that's a good starting point where you know you can start pulling bits of objects away. Okay, and I'm just going to grab all those fingers in one go like that, and then we're good. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to separate this hand out. Okay, so we're going to separate the top from the bottom. So with edges selected in the perspective view, okay, like so, I'm just going to select the center point of the hand like so. Excuse me. As you can see in the UV editor here, the fingers are highlighted as well, and we don't want that, so what we're going to do is separate that out. Okay, so now you can see they're deselected, and what this is going to do now is going to enable us to make a cut on the top and the bottom of the hand and pull those two shells apart. So again, just going to use the icon, okay, and separate those out just by selecting the shell, and there we go. So we've got our hand already done, like so. And now what we're going to do is just show the shaded again, like so. Let's bring this up full screen. Okay, so we've got, this is a normal looking UV, this one is back to front, and these are all overlapped, and these are the ones we're going to have to sort out. Okay, so we're going to flip that like so. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just take him and just pop him on that side of the hand for now. As you can see, there's a few small issues going on here as well, so those are places that we're going to have a look at. Okay, and what we're going to do is sort these fingers out before we do anything else. So what I like to do with the fingers is select the faces, okay, and then one at a time, what we're going to do, actually, we'll deselect that one, we're going to extract this from the mesh itself. So we're going to do that one. So that's now separate. Okay, and then we're going to grab faces again. In fact, what we'll do, we'll select UV, then we'll select left control and then right click to shell, so it makes the UV all over, selects the UV all over the finger itself. And then what we'll do is we'll convert the selection to faces. So you can go select, convert selection, and we'll go to faces. Okay, and then we'll do the same again. Okay, so that's now, whoops, object mode, and then we'll, okay, so that's extracted as well. So we've got that finger, so now we want to do this one. So we're going to choose UV again, okay, to shell, convert the selection to the face, okay, object mode, and I'm going to deselect those to shell. Whoops, wrong one. Let's do to shell again. Convert selection to faces, object mode, okay, and then hopefully we want to extract. That's not doing that for some reason. Let's sort this out. Okay. Okay, right, so let's do that again. Okay. Object mode. Okay, so we'll extract that. There we go, that's better. Okay, so that one's done. And then last but not least, the little finger. Okay, so we can grab that one all by himself there, and then we can do the same there and delete history. Okay, so that's all done. So now what we're going to do is unwrap our first finger, and what I'm going to do is do this down the middle. Okay, in fact let's just go for broke and we'll do that there. Okay, so I've selected the edge down the middle, and we'll just grab those edges there. And we'll grab that one there as well. Okay, and what we want to do is make a cut, okay, like so. Alright, so we've got straight down the middle and one either side on the tip of the finger. And then hopefully if we select the UVs, go polygons and hit unfold, we should get an idea of how our finger is going to look unfolded. Okay, so let's just go and have a look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is grab that, and we're going to cut that one. I'm going to grab that one, and we're going to cut that one as well. Okay, so that makes life a little bit easier. And we're going to use the unfold. Okay, there we go. So that's that finger nearly done already. So I'm just going to double check everything. Let's just grab those UVs on the front there. So as you can see, I've just unwrapped that very, very quickly. There we go, like so. And now let's just check the front here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is detach that one and that one from there. Okay, I'm going to cut those off. Going to grab the edges on the front there, and we're going to go polygon, move and sew UV edge. Okay, and then just going to grab that front end again, and we're going to go unfold just to balance things out. Okay, so far so good with all of this. And I'm just going to use the unfold or the soft use or the smooth UV tool just there. And what I'm going to do now is apply our Lambert 2. We're just going to have a look at this. Okay, so it's quite a nice looking UV so far. Okay, so we've got the seam running down the underside there. Excuse me, there's not a lot we can do in terms of position with those UVs because these are naturally falling how they should be. Okay, so as you can see there, that's all pretty good. For tidiness, you could stitch these two guys back up on the underside here. So move and sew UV, and then what we'll do once again is grab that and hit unfold, so those are a bit squarer on the ends there as well. Okay, and then just keep checking all the UVs, just making sure that it's all okay. So I'm just going to run this through as a matter of course, and there we go. So now looking at this, the UVs all look a bit too big, so if we just have a look at that finger there, so what that tells me is the finger UV needs to be a little bit bigger. Okay. Now there's a couple of ways as well you could do the UVs on here. You could actually separate these lower ones, or this shape here underneath, and restitch it back to the palm of the hand on that side. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. It's entirely up to you if you want to do it that way. But for this exercise, I'm not going to do it that way. What I want to do is just show you ways of getting to do UVs across and done very, very quickly. And then fine tuning really is up to you. So if I just select this and hit 3, so you can see that our UVs on those fingers are pretty damn good. As I said, you could separate the UVs out along these edges, on these leading edges here, and then stitch it back up on the middle and then sew it back to the palm of the hand. Okay, so we've got these other fingers sitting here. So this is the reason why I separated them out, is so we can just grab the UVs from one and transfer them to the other. So if we go mesh, transfer attributes, okay, and go to component, there'll be scripts as well. You can do everything in sort of multiples, but for the sake of this exercise, we're just using Maya's standard tools. So with component on, I'm just going to go transfer UV. As you can see, that's disappeared, which is a bit strange. So what I'm going to do is delete the histories on those, and in the outliner it looks to me as if we're all in one group, which we are. So I'm going to go edit and unparent and take those all out of the group. Okay, just move that out of the way. Okay, so this one to this one, so edit mesh, and we're going to go transfer attributes, edit reset settings, okay, and then hit apply, and there we go. So hopefully our UVs will be the same as that finger. So then we want to delete the history on those, okay, and then grab that finger and hit apply again, okay, and then delete the history so there's no connection, and then do the same again for the little finger and hit apply. Okay, so the first thing you notice when we've hit the transfer attributes is that the UVs for each finger are all in the same place, and what this is because it's copying from this space, UV space here, for each new object, so everything here is actually overlapped. So what we're going to do is we just grab those UVs like so, okay, and just start moving them across. So go to shell, oops, let's just grab that as well, and go to shell, start moving those as well, there we go, to shell, and there's our 4 fingers. Also, the other thing you need to do, because these fingers are all of different sizes, although the UVs are very nice, the fingers are actually different sizes, so a good thing to do would be to run your unfold in one form or another. either using the smooth UV tool or using the unfold under here, like so, which that one's not going to work that way, so we're just going to use it from the smooth UV. There we go. So by using that, you can see it's already laid it out very nicely. We've kept the smooth, okay, in that finger as well. And we'll just double check this one. Okay, there you go. So that's those fingers done. So what that leaves us now is the thumb. So we're going to run all the way down here, and we're just going to look at the thumb. Okay, like so. And again, just going to cut this here and here and here, and I think what we'll do, we'll remove the top of the selection on that thumb there. In fact, we'll get rid of that one there as well. Okay, there we go. And then what we'll do, we'll hit the cut, and again polygons, whoops, and then hit unfold, and we'll see what we get. Just going to scale this guy up, and there we go. So we just rotate that thumb around, so you can see got a fantastic set of UVs on there as well. So again, just go in again and just tweak this UV setting. Okay, just use this, the unfold. You know, the process can be a little bit easier, as you can see, you know, once you get into it, stuff like that. While I'm working on stuff at work, I generally sit with the headphones on when I come to this stage of 3D modelling, and just lose myself in it, and the time soon passes, and everything's done, so it's all pretty good. But it can be time consuming, and sometimes it can be tedious depending on the type of project or type of work that you're doing as well. So okay, so that's all done. So to shell. Okay, so that's our thumb and our fingers all done. So what do we want to do now is just grab these guys, and I'm just going to run the smooth UV on these. Okay, just for the moment, as you can see, that's worked out quite nicely. There are a couple of little overlaps here which we can sort out. There we go. Okay, now with areas like this, you are going to get them, so you know, you have to get in and basically edit these sometimes the old-fashioned way, or you can hit unfold as I've just done, because I know it's going to do the job, and you know, we're going to get something decent out of that. Now I'm just going to grab those and just hit unfold, and there we go. So we just go to 3 on our keyboard. Okay, so it's all looking pretty good within the fingers in there. Okay, so let's just hit 1 again. So hit, okay, and let's just get out of there. There is a slight annoyance in Maya as well. I'll point this out actually. If you're in this tool, the smooth UV tool mode, you can't actually select anything. If you go to UV mode, oh, it's gone and done it now, that's typical. You can't use, that's actually because it's on UVs, but you can't use it on the edges or anything like that, or faces. It just doesn't work, which is a real annoyance if you want to sew something up. So it's a bit crazy really, but it enables you to select UVs but not edges even while you're in that tools mode. So you have to switch back to something in your toolbox and use that one of those for selecting, which is a bit of an annoyance, and it catches me out every single time. So I'm going to do move and sew UV, so the 2 halves of the hand are looking pretty good. So just going to rotate that round, there we go, and I'm going to run unfold on that, but not as big as that. Let's do this using this guy, and do the back, and then we'll just run it on the front again from this menu. So as you can see, the smooth UV, even though it's got unfold written there, it has a different effect than if you were using it from the unfold sort of here as well. So as you can see there. So I'm going to go unfold, and I'm just going to start to tweak it before it starts to go, and then what we'll do, we'll start to move things around manually. Sometimes you have to do this manually. You can't rely on every single plugin or shortcut or script to do it. Sometimes you just got to go in there and get your hands dirty with this type of stuff. Unfortunately, there's not always an easy way out. So just something for you to bear in mind. Okay. And the good thing is as well, what I've noticed in the years that I've been doing UVs on models, is that if you have an area like this, as we're doing now, we're doing this all manually, you find that when you reposition something, it's almost like it resets it. So when you actually do go and use one of these tools, you get a completely different shape out of it afterwards, as you can see there. Okay, so and then you get unfold, and you get a completely different shape. So it's almost like it resets the position for those UVs, and it's looking pretty good around here now actually. Let's just check under there. Yeah, that's all pretty acceptable. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So let's just tweak that. We'll just move those back in. Okay, like so. And there we go. So it's pretty painless, you know, nothing drastic. You know, and it's all been relatively quick as well. So okay. And then a good thing to do would be to grab your fingers and make sure all the UVs are the same size. Okay, there are scripts out there that you can get to resize the UVs so everything is the right scale. We're not going to use it anything like that in this exercise, but they're out there if you want to go and find them. So, and then last but not least, we'll just scale this guy down so all our UVs are the same size or within the 0 to 1 range, and we'll just put that guy up there, and we'll hit smooth on the keyboard. You can see that's all good. Now one more thing to do before we move on to the next object is our fingers need to be reattached. So we're going to just grab those like so, and we're going to hit combine so they're all combined, and then what we need to do is merge all the vertices back up, and let's just hit 5 so you can see the ones that need doing. So we're just going to grab the verts, okay, and just go around and make sure everything is attached. Once again, I'm not going to do every single finger, but for the sake of the exercise I'll just do this one, and we should be good. So I've got the shortcut on my shelf, so that's quite low tolerance there, so I'm just going to hit apply. Just double check. Now the border edge isn't disappearing, and that could be for one reason, and what we'll do, we're going to have a look. I do believe that the vertices are merged, but the reason why we're still getting this border edge is possibly down to the UVs themselves. And let's just go and have a look. Okay, and the way to do that is just go and have a look up here. Now then, why's our finger disappeared all the way over there? That's our little finger. We didn't want him going anywhere. For some reason, anyway. Okay, let's just double check. Oh, that's gone a bit strange. So what we'll do, we'll just quickly unwrap that. There we go. That's better. Bit of strangeness there. So just scale that back up. There we go. I do apologise about that. Okay, so that's all done. Now this border edge business that we got going on here, I was just on about. Basically, that's possibly down to the border edge for the UVs being on, which it is. Okay, so it's going to highlight where you've made your cuts on your model. Now, if you want to check it on the model themselves, then if you go to Mesh, actually Win Display, go to Object Display. That's a big pardon, polygons, and you can go down to, should have border edges in here somewhere. There we go, border edges. And there we go. So that finger has been merged successfully, and the border edges for the geometry are displayed, that are showing that these fingers are still needing to be attached. So make sure you do go around and merge your verts and stuff if you do decide to do it this way. Okay, so that's that done. So that's that hand done. We're going to move on to the face now, and just going to show you a few bits and pieces in there. But what we're going to do, we're going to cut this chapter and we're going to jump to a new chapter. So we'll leave it here, and I'll see you in the next one. So cheers for now. Okay, welcome to part 2. In the last chapter, what we did, we looked at UV in the hand, and what we did, I think we finalised by just merging the finger. And so I'm not going to do every single thing for you. You know how to do the first one, so I'm going to leave the other 4 for you to do as well. So once you've done all that, don't forget you're going to get history build up as you go along, so don't forget to delete your history once you've finished with the model and projecting all the UVs and stuff like that. So that's all good. So moving swiftly on now, we're going to hide, actually let's just see what we've got. So let's show all. So we've got the hand done and the sphere done, which is great, and we've moved the UVs up for the hand. So our next victim is going to be this head. So without further ado, let's select those and the cylinder, and we're going to hide those just by doing Control H, and we're going to zoom in on the head. So as you can see, once again I've gone in and I've just created standard automatic mapping projections for this head, and you can't really see a great deal. It all looks pretty good actually there. I mean, you can start to see seams and stuff appearing there. Let's just do smooth so you can see the cracks appearing on that. So, and that's not what we want. We want something a bit nicer than that. So yeah, let's do this. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to jump over to the orthographic view and go to the front, and we're just going to zoom in on our character. Let's just hide the cameras because we don't really need those. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to cut this character in half. Okay, I'm going to delete one half of him, okay, for this exercise, and let's just hit 4 on the keyboard so we can see. Okay, because the reason for this really is it's just going to make life easier when you come to do the UVs. It saves you having to do them all over the place and get one side matching up to the other. So you know, this is going to be a stage before you've made blend shapes and stuff like that. So yeah, let's do this. Okay, so we've got that done there, like so. Alright, so what I'm going to do first is, again, I'm going to go to our create UVs, going to get our planar mapping, and in fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to take the planar mapping out of this one. I'm going to use cylindrical mapping. Okay, so we're going to go create cylindrical mapping. There we go. So as you can see, it's just come straight in on the Z projection. So we're going to grab the little gavel there. I'm just going to spin everything round about 100 or about 90 degrees, and then I'm going to push it across like so. Okay, and as you can see, you know, we're starting to get there already, but we need to sort of cut things out and move things around as well. So first thing we're going to do is grab the edges of the inner mouth. Okay, we're going to get rid of those first. So let's see where we can get that, and we're going to grab the edges there. Okay, just in that area. So that should do us quite well. So I'm going to cut those UVs away and go to shell, and there we go. So there's the inner mouth. We can just grab that and move that across. So as you can see, the head itself is not too bad. We've been able to eliminate a fair bit of work just with the cylindrical projection tool, and yeah, all we need to do is sort of sort this ear out, the nose, the eye, under the chin, stuff like that, and top of the head as well. So let's jump back over. So let's put our Lambert back onto that. So as you can see, UV's not bad at all, not bad. Bit of stretching around the back of the ear, that's always a problem area. So generally it's nice to be able to keep all the shells together, but in some cases you're not going to be able to get it right first time out. So we're going to separate the ear on this occasion, and also got a bit of stretching going on under the neck, on the chin, just there, and then just got this little area in here to sort out as well for the inside of the mouth. Okay, so let's jump over, and what I'm going to do is actually we'll jump back to the model and we'll grab the edges here. In fact, we'll grab those edges around there. Okay. You're always going to be sort of jumping backwards and forwards. If we can grab this, you're always going to be jumping backwards and forwards, deciding where to cut UVs. It's sort of nature of the beast, really, because you're trying to eliminate as many problems as possible for the texture artists and stuff like that, and also for yourself if you're the guy that's doing, or the girl that's doing the textures. So yeah, there's just lots to think about. You know, you might want to rearrange everything afterwards as well. So but what you try and do is give an initial sort of look to how your UVs are going to be, and then sometimes what happens in a production environment is that the texture artists will come and talk to you and say, you know, hey, we don't want it like that, we want it like this, or can you spread that over 10 tiles or 20 tiles or whatever, and keep, you know, it swings and roundabouts really. It's horses for courses depending on what you're doing. So again, I'm going to cut out the inside of that eye. I'm busy chatting away, but I'm just sort of doing this automatically. So what I've done, I've gone in and selected the edges there, and deselect and cut the shell out from the inside of the eye. I'm just putting everything sort of into areas where they're manageable as well. So the nose is fine, that should be absolutely fine. And now the other piece that we do need to sort out is the top of the head. Okay, so what I generally like to do is sometimes just grab the top of the head and do a complete cut off from that as well, and then what we can do is sew that back on once we've unfolded the UVs for that. So you can just grab that, and we'll just do this, and we'll go to shell. So that's that one done as well. And then what we can do is go polygon, unfold. There we go. So that's done. Okay, so you can see we've got a nice set of UVs already there for the top of the head. And then go under here. Okay, so there you can see it's gone a bit gaga. So what we want to try and do is try and keep everything nice and straight. And what we will do before we do that is go unfold on this guy. Just scale that up. This is the inside of the mouth. Okay, so we're just going to do that. Just going to unfold that as best possible. We're not going to get it perfect because of the way the shape is. The other thing is as well is always try and keep things to the shape that they would be if you flattened the UVs, or if you flattened the shell of the poly model out. So everything, it's not got to be perfect, perfect square UVs in terms of the mesh itself, but the UVs have got to be square and natural, so it enables us to get a perfect projection or a perfect UV map. So let's just move all these around, as you can see. So what I'm trying to do is try and get them into a position. If we just go back to the underside of the neck, so it's something that's going to resemble the underside of this neck. So you can see these lines are quite parallel, or the meshes excuse me, the edges are quite parallel to each other. So I'm just going to try and sort of achieve that in here as quick as possible, really, because we don't really want to be hanging on, mucking around in these sorts of areas. What you can do though, if you do get areas that are a bit tricky underneath the neck, stuff like that, just simply make a cut and split the UV and then relax that and see what happens. If it looks better with the cut, then go for it that way. Obviously, again, you are looking to eliminate seams and stuff like that when you are doing this type of work, but sometimes they can't be helped. Okay, so let's do this nose. Just grab the nose, and again, the nose is a tricky area to do as well. As you can see there, I've just gone and unwrapped that, but it's gone a bit sort of skew. So let's go unfold. Okay, so that's better, but we're still getting some strangeness going on just under here. So we're going to try and bring all that across. Okay, like so. So that's not too bad. You could actually separate the nose out as well. That's always an option. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's give ourselves a bit more room. Let's have a look at what we've got under here now. Okay, there we go. So that's all going to look better. As you can see, it's all looking towards its natural sort of shape, like when it was created as a 3D model, and that's what you're looking to get. And there we go. So you can see it's all coming together very, very quickly. Okay, still got a little bit going on under the chin, but it's not anything to worry about. In fact, let's just unfold. No, don't want nose. Yeah, so that's going to be a problem area to deal with. So what we can do is start to move things around a bit. There you go, that's the problem area just there. Okay, so we can start to move things and get those looking fairly normal. Okay. So as I mentioned, it's always worth just cutting some of these UVs and just seeing what they're going to do. So if I've just made a cut there, let's just see what happens. See, the UV is normal there, but it's not right there. So let's just undo that. Okay. So what we want, these have got to be straight on here. Okay, so you can use the scale tool just to line those back up. Okay, like so. And then the ones we want to concentrate on now, because we know these have got to be straight here, because it's straight in this area. So by doing it that way, you're eliminating a little bit of the problem as well. So let's unfold. Let's get in there and then unfold it under there. Nope, that's not quite right. Okay, so I've still got some problems just in here. Sometimes just use the relax on the smooth as well. That will help eliminate some of that stuff. Let's just see how we're getting on up there. That's not too bad. So I think we should be grabbing those. Just move those down. Deselect those. Move those down a bit. There we go. So that's coming into play now. Okay, you can see these are starting to square up a lot better. Okay, so it's just it is trial and error with a lot of it, just to get it to look right. So, sometimes there will be a little bit of backwards and forwards. And this is where the pain is with the UVs, pretty much for everybody that doesn't enjoy this process. So let's just move those down a little bit more. As I said, I generally try to chill out while I'm doing these, because like I said, depending on the project that you're doing or stuff like that, it can be a very mind-numbing process. But if you can chill out to it, you get that done a lot quicker. Recently worked on a project where I literally had thousands and thousands of bits, individual as well, and you have just got to go through them diligently and just get those done. Really, there's nothing else. There's nothing else you can do. It's got to be done. Some places use PTEX where you don't need UVs, but I still think that's an ongoing process for CG, because not every studio uses PTEX. But once it's completely sorted and stuff, I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that in terms of working properly within a studio environment, which would be really good, because it's going to save us a lot of time. Okay, so I'm just trying to get these UVs. So let's just bring those there. There we go. So this is the area here. Okay, so we're just going to unfold all of this. Let's just hit 3 on the keyboard there. It's not too bad, but it's not good enough. Okay. Sometimes things like this, issues can be it's not enough geometry as well to help sort of balance it out. So sometimes you may have to go in and add extra geometry, some extra loops just to strengthen it and stuff like that. But again, it's all part of the process. Okay, let's get that there. That's better. See, as you can see, I'm just having to do it the good old-fashioned way, because it's not it's not always ideal to let the machine do it. You have to go in there and do it yourself. I'm a bit against these automatic pelt mappers, because they're not always reliable, and you end up putting UV detail in the wrong places and stuff like that, especially around the eyes. They tend to shrink the eyes on these mappers quite a lot, and that's one place where you want to put detail. You don't want to be painting your textures at a per pixel level. That's looking pretty good. So it's just that one there. Yeah, so per pixel level of painting is not ideal. Okay, let's just move that. Okay, so that one there. And those there. So we're looking pretty good. So when we hit smooth, that's all looking pretty good there. So we've got these little areas up here. So we've got the mouth. So I just want to separate those away, like so. Okay. So keeping our UVs pretty good there. Let's have a look, keep those fairly straight. And just around here as well. Let's just see if we can make these a little bit better. That's better. Okay, and we'll just push those down. There we go, so that's good. Now the nose, we've got one stray couple of UVs going on just up here. And we'll just try and bring those across a little bit. The nose is always an awkward area as well. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to keep it, the UVs attached, because it's not that bad. It's not too bad really. But do be aware of it, because it's one of those areas that, you know, it's the centre of the face. So if you're doing high-res characters for, be it games or movies, you know, you're going to have to sort that out. You know, you're going to have to make that look pretty damn perfect to get a good, you know, to get a good UV map, get good textures out and stuff like that. Good thing is you have Mari with projections and stuff, but you can still get issues. But again, if you put the work in here, you know, the work coming out the other end will be even better. So it's always worth noting that sort of stuff. The other thing I'm going to use is the smudge tool, just to pull things around a little bit. Okay, just to try and balance that out a bit on the nose. There we go. So once I've got smooth on, it's all looking pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so let's go up to the eye. Now this little eye area, it's not too bad, but we're going to use the unsmooth UV on the to unfold it a little bit. We're going to do it a little bit at a time. There we go. So we can get rid of these issues around here as well, where UVs come quite close to each other. Okay, so let's just get rid of that going into there, and that one going into there as well. Okay, so what we need to do is go in and grab these guys and get rid of those. I'm not too worried about the red at the moment, because I know what that is. And there we go. So we just got to put it all into shape and just make sure everything's looking good. So if we just zoom in this area, so you can see a slight stretch issue going on around the corner there, but we can sort that out. So we just grab that, there we go. That puts that back into place, and then all we need to do is pull that up. Okay. Again, try and keeping it the same as the mesh itself, and that's all looking pretty good in and around that eye as well. So that's the eye done. Okay, and this guy up here, what we're going to do is we're going to use the UV lattice, which is this one here. If you double click on it, you've got the columns and rows, and you can adjust that accordingly, you know, so you can pull the UV mesh or shell around. So I'm just going to make that edge straight, like so. Okay, and then we're just going to move that into place just down here and just check our edges, and we're going to sew this guy back in. Okay, so those are selected, and we're just going to sew those in like so, if you'll pardon the expression, and we're going to grab these UVs and balance these all out. Okay, there we go. So they're all done. That's all done. So it's relatively straightforward. This is the inner eye. We could have sewn it back in with the inside of with the actual eye itself, but I think sometimes it's just best to leave these things separate. So what we can do now is grab that. I've just flipped that UV, we just go back there, just flip the UV just there like so, and then hopefully we should be able to get a better map coming out of there. So we want to leave this fairly open so we don't do any painting over. So let's just pull that around. Okay, like so. Just oops, hit F just to zoom in and have a look. We're not really going to go inside there, so at least it's a clean UV. Okay. You know, if we were doing a high res detail inside the eye, then I'd worry about it, but for now this is it's all pretty good. So I'm just going to select all of that and just take it back to there. Okay, for now, and just bring that in, okay, like so. And what we're going to do is scale this guy down as well, because we want his UVs to be the same size as the head. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that under there. Right, so now for the ultra tricky ear. So first of all, we're going to have a look at it and just sort of get this overlapping off itself on these outermost UV points. Okay, so they're all off each other pretty much. There we go. And then all we need to do is go in there, select those, and again start to unravel all of this stuff. And again, you will have to go in and manually tweak some of this stuff. Okay, like so. Let's just have a look at the ear. That's still looking pretty good. That's not bad at all. So let's just grab that, and using the UV smudge, sorry, smooth tool, not the smudge, you know, we can go in and start to make everything look okay. As you can see, it's not doing a bad job. Okay, so this is the inside, the cavity of the ear, the ear hole, or the ear hole, should I say, beg your pardon, my bad English accent there. So let's just pull that around just a little bit. There we go. So that's the inside of there. So it's something we're not really going to see much of. There we go. Let's just pull that in just to stop that stretching. Hit 1 on the keyboard, and 3 just to bring that back, and there we go. So that the ear is looking pretty good. And let's just unfold it a little bit there. There we go, and that's good for me. Okay, so now we've got one side of the head done. Still probably need a little bit of a tweak on the nose, but for the sake of the tutorial, we're not going to worry about that too much. I mean, we could go around and forever and ever with that for a bit, but let's just smudge that over a little bit more. There we go, and just check that. Yeah, that's good enough for this. But you get the idea on that. So you know, there's lots of places that you could go in and tweak and tweak and tweak. And as I mentioned earlier on, you could actually separate the front of the nose and put that in a separate space to actually eliminate more and more stretching. Okay, so with that done, we now need to get these UVs flipped over to the other side. So what that will entail is going back to object mode. Okay, then let's just delete some of our history, okay, like so, and then actually what we'll do, we'll freeze the transformations just so we don't have any problems for the tutorial. And we want to make sure that the move tool is dead center with the mesh, and then we're going to hit Control D to duplicate, and then hit -1, okay, like so, in the channel box on the X scale, so that mirrors that across. Okay, and then we're going to do history, freeze transformations. As you can see, it's got freeze transformation with negative scale will set the opposite attribute for the model, meaning that this is now back to front basically. So what you need to do is reverse your normals, okay, like so, and as you can see, the UV for this side has gone red, so we're going to flip that over like so. Okay, we're going to go to F8, and then we're going to go and delete some history once again. Then we're going to go to the shape node, okay, and we're going to go down to render stats, open it out and turn off opposite, and now that's all fine. So I want to grab the UVs, just move those over, okay, so we're not overlapping anywhere, okay, like so. So we've got two ears, two insides of the eyes, and the mouth cavity that will need sorting out as well. So then what we want to do is go to object mode, go to panel, and we're going to choose the front one, okay, like so, and we're going to combine the mesh together, okay, and I'm going to display my border edges for the mesh itself, and we're just going to go around, going to select all these verts, okay, and get everything joined up. Okay, like so. And what you can do is use the move tool, the scale tool, just to make sure all your verts are in line with each other. Okay, like so. And then we go back to our perspective. Okay. So I'm just going to check everything is all looking good. Now the only area that I'm really worried about is this lip area just down here. Okay, so we don't weld up any verts. Okay, so I'm going to go 0, 10 on this and hit apply, and there we go. And then hopefully all our verts are now merged, okay, like so. And then what you want to do is go back into the texture editor, and then select all the inner edges, like so. Okay, and then go to polygon, move and sew UV edges, and that should be done. Okay, and then one last time, just double check where we've just moved everything and merge those together. There isn't any sort of stretching to worry about. So just going to run that. Okay, and if we go back to our model, there we go, that's all done. So that's the head done. So all remains now, as you can see, the nose isn't perfect, but again it's one of those things that you have to sort of tweak and tweak until you're happy with that. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm good with that for now. Okay, so let's just jump back into the editor. Okay, and we're going to hit 1. In fact, let's just grab everything, and we're just going to pop all that back into the UV shell. okay, and move that into position. Now some studios will ask you to put the facial features into one whole shell, and then the back of the head, join those back up and put those in another shell for the sake of high resolution detail for the character that you're making. So that's just one thing to be aware of. I'm going to just leave everything as is because this is just about how to map your UVs, and what we're going to do is just going to move those two and sew those UV edges together. Oops, move and sew those together, okay, like so, just so they're joined up, and I'm going to leave those there like that for now. But yeah, for the sake of this tutorial, we're just going to leave them all in the one shell, the one UV tile, I beg your pardon. So yeah, that's the face done. Okay, so if we go back and we go back to command, we go to all, so we've just got one strange and dodgy object to take care of. So we're going to select that and hide all the other stuff. Now I've saved this one till last because I kind of figured this is a really nice way to finish this tutorial, nice and easy and very surprising. Now when you come to do cylinders in Maya and do UV mapping, can be very, very tricky. So let me just show you. So if we do a planar map, whoops, let's do it from the Z. Okay, so if you're doing it from Z, like so, and we'll apply our shader to it, you know, it all looks great, stuff like that, and then you get all this issue around here, really not very good. If we jump into the editor, you know, we've got a shape that's looking like this, and it's really, really not ideal. You could also go cylindrical mapping and then try and do it that way, you know, and again you're going to start running into very, very strange sort of issues. That's probably about the best you're going to get something like that in that area. Or what you could do, you could go automatic mapping, and you're going to be left with lots and lots of pieces like this. So what I want to show you is a real smart way of doing your UVs for this type of object and keeping everything pretty damn straight in a very short amount of time. And the reason I've left this till last is because it's really that quick and it's that easy to do, and you can use it on quite a lot of very strange objects, providing you put your seams in the right place where you're going to make a cut. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to Edit UVs, and we're going to go to this little one here, this little hero that I would call it, called Unitize. And what that does, when you hit that, it puts every single face of your object into one tile, but every single face is overlapping. So I'm going to open up the menu, going to hit Reset Settings and hit Apply and Close. Okay, and there you can see exactly what I was talking about. Now these triangles refer to the top of the cylinder and the bottom of the cylinder, but that's not a problem because we're going to sort that out. Excuse me. So what you want to do is you want to select your edges, okay, like so, and then what you want to do is choose where you want your seams to be. Okay, so in this case we want them there, there, and where should we choose? Let's do down the back here. Okay, and we'll just select that one back up. So we have cut 3 lots of seams for our object. Okay, this is how cool this is going to be. So we go polygons, and in you go move and sew UV edges. Okay, like so, and it sews all the faces back together. Okay, and I'm just going to move all this out of the way, and I'm just going to grab these guys as well. Okay, I'm not too concerned about those at the moment. This is the main body of this, is what I want to show you. So what we've got at the moment is we've got this horizontal set of sewn UVs. Now what we want to do now is unfold it so we get a really nice looking shape. Now if we open up the unfold UV options, if we go to unfold constraints, you've got vertical and you've got horizontal. In this case, when the UVs have been sewn back together, they've gone back horizontal. So what you want to do is hit horizontal and you should be fine. And then all you need to do is hit apply. Whoops. Just make sure you've got the correct UV selected, and then all you want to do is hit apply. Okay, like so. Now if it goes funny like this, it means the UV has gone back together in a strange way. So what you need to do is undo that and then just simply change the setting and then hit apply again, and then you should have something that looks like that. Okay, and then what you do is just scale that back down as to where you were to fit into your UV tile, and then that is pretty much done. So then these guys, we should be able to grab those faces there. Let's have a look. And all we're going to do with these two is just redo some planar mapping. Okay. On the top, just going to stretch those out just so they're circular. Okay, we're going to flip that like so. Okay, now this guy is going to be looking really good. So what I'm going to do is just grab him and apply the Lambert 2 shader to it and hit 6 on our keyboard, and you'll see that every single UV is perfect, pretty much. Okay, that is going to be the fastest way you're ever going to map a polygonal tube, unless you're using a NURB tube to do UVs with. But as far as polygonal cylinders go, that's going to be the best way for you to do it, and you know the result there speaks for itself. You can go in, of course, and you know, fine tune it if you want, like this, but pretty much you're not going to need to do it that way. You're just going to need to leave it as it was, like that, and that's all good. And then all we need to do, once again, is grab our edges from the top. So we want to find the middle one, which is going to be that guy there, and I'm just going to take him up there and scale him down, because that's what needs to be done. Okay, so let's do that guy. Okay, like so. And we'll do this guy as well, and we'll scale him down. Okay. And that's done. So that's probably going to be the fastest way to ever do one of these strange looking sort of shaped polycylinders in Maya. So we'll just leave that, drop that in there, and then with that smoothed off, you can see that the UVs are all looking really good. Okay, obviously you would cut in the extra loops and stuff like that if you wanted to keep those edges sharp and all that sort of thing, but for the sake of this exercise I'm not going to do that, because what I wanted to show you was the way that cylinder was done. Okay, so there you go. So that concludes this tutorial, and I hope you've been able to pick something up and you know, look at the techniques that I've used, and you know how quickly we've done these. I mean, we've done pretty much UV these 4 objects in probably about an hour and a half, which isn't too bad at all, especially with the head and the hands, which are the most difficult ones to do out of the whole lot. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Any queries on this sort of stuff, just drop us a line over at SimplyMaya.com, and yeah, we'll see what we can do for you. So again, hope you've enjoyed it. Cheers for now.